Date of truce between the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas and the Israeli army. The ceasefire entered its seventh day under the same term agreed upon since the beginning of its extension. However, many remain skeptical that the extension of this truce will come to an end and thus hostilities will resume. For more details, let us see what our correspondent in Gaza, Huda Higazi, has to report.
Yesterday was the sixth day of the humanitarian truce here in the Gaza Strip between the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement Hamas and the Israeli regime. After the exchange of hostages of this sixth day, it was hoped that the Qatari intermediaries, the Egyptian intermediaries, could reach a new agreement to extend this truce for at least 2 or 4 more days here in the Gaza Strip. However, we were waiting for several hours and there was no announcement of the extension of this truce, and at 11 p.m. local time in the Gaza Strip, there was a security meeting of the occupied territories with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the other ministers of war, and the statements of these ministers were not favorable at all. These statements indicate that they wanted to resume the confrontation here in the Gaza Strip in order to achieve the military objective of wiping out the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement Hamas. After these declarations, the Palestinians underwent a very tense situation, quite fearful, hoping that at any moment the Qatari and Egyptian intermediaries could reach an agreement and announce the extension of the truce. However, time ticked by, and the last hours at which the truce extension could be proclaimed was 7 a.m. However, by 5 a.m., 6 a.m., the truce had not been extended. So the Gazadis who had returned to their homes in their first days of the truce began to return again to the hospitals and Norway schools, afraid that at any moment the Israeli warplanes would proceed to bomb the Gaza Strip again. However, at 6:50 local time in the Gaza Strip, Qatar issued a statement saying that the truce had been extended by only 1 more day. And now, at this point, we will talk with a local to talk about his feelings, the fear he felt when he saw how the hours were ticking by and the humanitarian truce had not been proclaimed here in the Gaza Strip. What you felt when the hours passed and the night came and the truce was not announced?
We were waiting impatiently for the announcement of the truce because, honestly, we are already afraid of going back to war. We have seen the immense number of martyred children, women, the elderly, the newborns. Our children lost their classmates, their school friends. As for the children, we wanted to keep them away from this scene of crimes committed by the occupation, killing the martyrs, but in fact they witnessed scenes of horror. These images of horror, of the suffering of the children, this caused a kind of hysteria in the children. We are afraid to close our eyes, we are afraid to go to sleep and wake up in the morning to the sound of bombs and F-16 missiles. This is something very serious. This war took away adults, children, newborns, the elderly. We hope that this war will be over very soon.
As we can see, the situation of the Palestinians is characterized by fear that at any moment Israel will resume the war in the Gaza Strip, that it will resume the bombing, that more Palestinians will lose their life, more children, more old people, and this time the truce has only been extended for 1 day. And now the fear is that at any moment the war could resume again here in the Gaza Strip, as soon as the Israeli occupation regime does not accept the conditions of the Qatari intermediaries. So now everyone is waiting to see if today there could be another extension of the truce here in the Gaza Strip.